Welcome to the fresh and vibrant airwaves of the Pride and Promotion podcast. Strap in and turn up the volume because you've landed on the podcast that's setting the bar for the most dynamic and inclusive marketing conversations. Join your host, Joseph Federico, as he prepares to dive into the world of marketing with an inclusive twist where we spotlight the LGBT community and celebrate the power of diversity. Get ready to be motivated as we bring in some of the most influential LGBT entrepreneurs and marketing trailblazers who are reshaping the.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Federico, your host of the Pride and Promotion podcast. Tonight we have a very special guest and a long-term friend of mine, Ryan Kehoe. You may know him from, of course, social media, but also the challenges. So Ryan, thank you so much for coming onto the show. How are you?
Very welcome. I'm really good. I'm actually currently in Arizona for a couple weeks visiting some friends that was on the show with me.
I love that. I'm following along your story across all the social platforms.
Yeah. I'm a little older for these like social media generations, so I'm trying to keep up as best as I can, but like Snapchat, TikTok, those things are a little scary to me. So I'm like just straight up Instagram and even a little Facebook, like a dinosaur. Yeah.
No, you know what? But you're keeping up very well. Trust me. Not that to sound like a stalker, but you're keeping up well with all what's going on, the trends and everything else. So, and Instagram is queen right now. So you're good. So tell everybody more about just who you are. If they're tuning in to TV Land, what's going on in your life, and then we'll jump right in.
My name is Ryan Kehoe. I just turned 43. I live in New York City. I will have lived in New York 25 years come October.
Wow.
So grew up in Jersey, moved to New York for college when I was 18, and I've been there ever since. Some people might know me from MTV's The Challenge. I've done 8 seasons in 19 years. Had a 15-year chunk of not doing the shows, and then I had a little bit of a resurgence the past 3 years. And sober 2 years. What else you want to know?
That's amazing, and congratulations and happy Pride, by the way.
Thank you, happy Pride. I'm actually in New York for Pride this year, which is a travesty.
Yeah. I'm sure, and I've only been once to the New York parade, so but I want to keep going. So
yeah,
we'll see what the future holds. So we've known each other. We've worked together over the years. I've stopped in, all the places in Manhattan, in which, and you've been very, gracious over the years. So thank you for that.
of course.
I want to know, I obviously we're talking about Pride. We're talking about promotion. Where did you start when you were on television? What was that experience like? Of course, but how did you promote yourself back when you started? Was it social media or was it just?
No, it was way before social media. And fun fact, when I was 19 years old, a friend that I did a summer program with, her godfather was this big producer in New York, and he had remembered me from when I was 16. He was producing a documentary for Bravo, which Bravo was not the Bravo we know now, same network, but it wasn't a household name.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a docu-series film crew follow me for 6 months when I was 19, living in New York. Google it. You might be able to find it on the World Wide Web, somewhere, but it was called Gay Riviera. And it basically followed 8 cast members. 4 lived in New York, 4 in Miami, 4 guys, 4 lesbians. And I had a camera crew just randomly following me at 19, which was super messy. And it was New York. I think it aired in 2000. So it was pre 9/11 New York. And so I had done, I had a little reality experience before I wound up doing the challenge. But you could probably find some old ridiculous clips with me with curly giant Armenian hair, because that was the look in the late 90s.
Late 90s, wow. And I remember, of course, I hope to have them on in the future, the original cast of The Real World, and I've been in touch with them over the years, helping them with their social, know all what happens behind the scenes, and yes, messy, right? But how did you get the word out? How did they get the word out before? This is right after, in the midst of the real world, right? But
Yeah,
before the challenges. So how did you get the word out? How did they get the word out
there
without
was
promoting online?
there was like bloggers, and there were like, I mean, obviously we had internet back then, but everything was so different. Um, Listen, I'm glad social media did not exist when I was that age, because I've always been really unfiltered. And I'm still unfiltered to a certain degree, but I think if social media existed back then, I'd be very self-conscious and very privy to all the negative feedback, and I think it would have affected me on a deeper level. Now it's just like grain of salt. I try to just have thick skin because obviously there's always haters.
Sure.
Um, but actually, on that documentary, they followed me around with my family, and my father, who was a Vietnam vet, wound up coming out on national television after me. I
Oh,
guess me doing a documentary kind of put him in touch with like things that happened in his past, and he was really proud that I was doing this documentary to be out and,
yeah. Yeah, sure.
proud. And he had come out to me, my brother, and my sister couple months prior, but I had no idea that he was going to share with the documentary his story. So when it aired, which was Pride Week of the year 2000, all of the Kehoe side of my family had no idea. The only people he told were his children and his ex-wife, my mom.
Hmm.
So I think what was more impactful was my dad's coming out story, and the fact that he was so brave to share with production that he kind of wound up being like the scene stealer of the whole thing. But it was cool that he was able to like put his truth out there, because he had a boyfriend and a lover in Vietnam, and that was something that was like unheard of. And my mom didn't even know that. She married him and had 3 kids and didn't even know that he had this like really tragic gay love story,
Wow.
1969 to 1971.
Ooh.
So in the spirit of pride, happy pride to my
Yeah.
dad, who is no longer with us, but you know, waving our flag for you, Dad.
And it's so important, especially back then, late 90s, early 2000s, regardless of social media or not, it's press, right? And it was a TV show. It was getting the representation of you on camera, but then your
Hmm.
father felt comfortable enough to actually come out and then hopefully find some peace in that process.
Yeah, it was definitely a full circle moment for him. Yeah, and
So,
honestly, before my dad came out, he got like a very thin rainbow like here on his arm, and he has like tattoo. He had tattoos everywhere. He was a Vietnam vet from the
mhm,
Bronx, like super tough. And
yeah.
so when he got the rainbow, I was like, oh my God, my dad is so supportive. He loves me so much. Little did I know, a few months later, he came out to us, and I was like, oh, that rainbow was for you, bitch. I got it. I see you.
But I'm sure you helped him too, seeing you living your true self. You've always
Yeah.
been yourself as far as I've known you, television through today or not. But that brings me to another important question. Let's not to bring up names, we can do a whole different episode or a blog about this or whatever, but coming out on television in the world, in the age of social media, do you feel that it helps people with seeing people like you, seeing people like me, seeing people on television, on the real world, on these challenges? Does it help or deter the whole process?
Do you think you're talking about now, currently, with
Yeah,
the way that social
now,
media?
like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do think it's very helpful to have social media, because there is almost too much representation in a way. Like, it's very probably overwhelming for the youth that are trying to figure out their identity and, you know, pronouns and things that like I didn't necessarily grow up with or understand. Like, I'm learning too as a gay man in my 40s, you know, the whole like trans
yeah,
vocabulary. It's
yes,
new
me
for me,
too.
and I am very open to like being correct about pronouns and how I speak, but that wasn't something. It's like we're all learning, right? And it seems like there's something new every day to learn.
Right.
Um, I'm glad I didn't have social media. For me, it was Pedro Zamora on The Real World in
Yes.
1993. That was like my first connection to a gay man
Yeah,
on TV, early 90s, and me being like 12 years old at the time, I clearly knew I was different from the other boys. I, it took me hitting puberty to realize that sexually that was my thing, but I
sure.
was really connected to Pedro's story. And I remember like sneaking watching The Real World because my mom was like not a fan of me watching reality TV
I
because,
did too. That's so
yeah.
funny. Yes. Hmm.
hmm But I would like sneak to the basement and like watch it, and just I grew up on The Real World. That was like The Real World for me was education, and like opened this book of opportunity. Like there's more than your small town in New Jersey. Like you're gonna get out of this, and you're gonna
Yeah.
find a community where you feel acceptance, and you know people will love you for who you are. So I think reality shows in the very beginning at their core were really good for society.
It was almost like certainly coming of age, back then, a story, but like an adult, almost like a Sesame Street, like this educational Mr. Rogers program where me too, I hid watching The Real World. The
Yeah.
first season, 92, was with Norm Corby. I know him very
Yeah.
well. And he
Yeah.
was the grandfather, at least in my opinion, of watching how free, somebody that I thought, and I was only 9, I wasn't even 10 when I watched. So watching this, this person on television, like, oh, questioning a lot, maybe, coming to terms with certain things, but even back then there was no social media. It was all press, and there wasn't even really internet.
Right.
So how do you feel now, at least for yourself? Let's go back for a second. How did you build, or how do you think your persona started on social media when everything really blew up with the Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter, as opposed to where you are now with your personality and your outward facing? I'm Ryan Kehoe, the internet sensation and beyond.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not of that status.
Yes,
I
yes.
um when I did my first challenge show on MTV, I remember my castmate Johanna like created MySpace for me, and me just having a MySpace profile was like, "Oh, this is cool." And you had a song and like one picture. And
Mhm.
I would say like by the time I did my last show before I would come back years later, like Facebook was like a new thing. Facebook was the thing. It was pre-Instagram, and I just remember getting like hundreds of requests a day and just like accepting every single person because like I didn't know there was a maximum of friends you could have on Facebook. And I still check my Facebook, and maybe I'm just my age, but I'm like to communicate with like my cousins and my older relatives. Like that's the way that like you can keep your extended family in the know of what you're up to.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure Facebook will be extinct at some point in the next like 15, 20 years.
Oh,
But who knows?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, curious minds want to know what song and how your profile looked on your MySpace back in the day. Like, spill all the tea on me.
Oh, I think I had like the fake glasses. Like you don't really need them, but they make you feel intelligent, but also
Mhm.
cool. So I had like the
Mhm.
fake glasses, super tan, like maybe a little corner nip slip, just, for shock value. And
Mhm.
what would have been my song back then? 2008?
That was when it was at its height. It almost died at that point. 2008-ish, yeah.
It was probably "Gimme More" by Britney. It was definitely Britney.
Yeah.
I'm still a big Britney aficionado. I just want her to be better. I don't need more music. I just want to keep her
No,
alive and happy. But Britney was like everything to me.
everything.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
And for us gay boys too. Not,
yes.
just going out, getting ready, God knows, a hook, whatever the hell it was, definitely Britney. But here's another, because now I'm getting really excited about the age of the evolution of social. Who was in your top 8 on MySpace?
Who was in
Oh,
my top 8? Is that
mhm.
top 8 people in
Yeah,
your?
it was that people used to get into arguments about who was in your top 8. Not you.
Right. Oh
You.
my God,
Yeah.
I completely forgot this. That
So
was a thing.
who was in your top 8 that just like mine was my sister, my boyfriend before I met him. God knows who was there. Maybe Tom of MySpace, some celebrities, that I had found, their personal profiles. But that was a big deal. So who was in yours?
Probably, well, because my family didn't jump on anything social media until Facebook. So I know that no one in my family had a MySpace or knew what it was.
Right.
They're all like late bloomers in that way. Probably like Johanna, Paula, like people that were on the challenge with me that had MySpaces at the time. They were,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly, it was probably people from the show and from Real
Okay.
World and Road Rules. But I can't remember, to be honest.
Did the studio ask you to promote yourself on MySpace when you had it? No.
No, it wasn't even a part of the credentials.
Wow.
Now when we fill out our contracts, it's like, what's your Twitter, your Snapchat, and literally I fill out like, don't have one, or like under Twitter, I'm like, have one, haven't tweeted since 2011. So
Right.
I'm kind of a dinosaur. I'm a little more old school, but I'm trying to get better
Okay. Okay, that's
at
fair.
like,
I would love to go back and work at the studio to include social media in the strategy for a show back then.
yeah,
Because nobody still like really cared. There was internet, post 9/11. There were all these shows coming out. Bravo was still the old Bravo at that time, too.
yes, yeah.
MTV was evolving, let's put it that way, and there wasn't just any social strategy. It was you used to watch the show and like it was even before QR codes. It was just
Oh
call
yeah.
to vote or whatever.
Oh, that was like in the age of like I was still VHS recording things.
Yeah,
The early
yeah.
2000s. I used to tape fucking, excuse my language. I used to
No, you're good. You're good.
okay. I used to tape TRL every day up
Yes.
up until TRL ended, which I don't know. I'd have to cross check what year that was. I was like old school, and like the timer was on, and I would VHS tape, and I would like force my roommate to watch TRL, and it's
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know, oh yeah,
So you knew who you were coming out on that their first show on Bravo. I am going to Google it. Everybody, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Ava Vieira, you're welcome.
You're
You're welcome.
welcome.
Oh yeah.
But you didn't really have a persona. So when you got on social, how did your persona start? Was it like gay boy doing whatever I want, wherever I wanted, and did you not care? And how has that evolved over the years? Like Ryan Kehoe, I know you personally, but
Yeah.
who's Ryan now? On social. So tell us
I
from the beginning to yeah.
I think I always was open about all of the things, but there was a certain censorship that I always had, like on Facebook, for example, because I knew that my mom would see it, and I am a mama's boy, and she is a very devout Christian woman, but she does
Mhm.
love the gays. She's come a long way. But anytime I posted anything a little racy or like scandalous, I just knew that I was going to hear it from her. Like, well, that's going to be on the internet, and like
Yeah.
like, why do you have to put all your shit out there? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
mom, why am I on a reality show? Like, I've always been an open book. There's nothing shocking about me. I
Right.
brought men into the women when I men into the women. I brought men into the house when I was in high school and got caught. Like, I've been a scandalous son my entire life. But I think when I got on television and I started like posting shirtless pics or just like me being like covered in glitter, having fun, like gaying it up in New York City, my mom would always just be like, you need to like tone it down a little bit. Like that should be for you and not the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I think I
Yeah.
found like a happy medium. I mean, I'm 43. Like my mom, if I still let my mom run run the show, it would be a little rough. But I think we both come to a place where she's like, she knows I'm not doing it for like sensationalizing anything. She realizes
Sure.
that I've just always been overtly open and out there and half
Mhm.
naked most of my life.
Yeah.
So,
How do you feel about your evolution on social media?
um, I'm still evolving. quite honestly, I'm staying with my friend Olivia, and she's like wanting to guide me. Like, you need to get a Snapchat. I have one, but like, you need to learn Snapchat. You need to learn TikTok. And like, nowadays, you can make a lot of money, like monetary value from followers and posts and stuff. And that kind of stuff just doesn't come naturally to me because I'm not like the most tech savvy human being.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
work
fine.
for me to do it, but I find that like I'm more natural when I'm bouncing off of somebody versus just like talking into a
Mhm.
camera. Like I
Yeah.
need like a question or I need, to interact with another human. Otherwise it feels a little forced for me.
But that brings me to my great intro. Thank you for that inadvertently. Uh, Last week you were getting ready to travel to where you are now, and you put up that question sticker on your Instagram.
Mm.
So just talk to me or like ask me a question. How do you feel about that? Like you clearly
Wow.
not to be accusatory, but you did very well with that first of all. So
Thanks.
props to you. But how do you feel that's even growing your brand? Like, did you enjoy those answering
I
questions?
loved it. Well, yeah, because you're actually answering questions from usually it's about the challenge, and I just had a season air and I'm about to have another season airing. So, like, obviously, most of people that are followers of mine want to talk about the show or have questions. But, what was nice was like people were asking me about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was my favorite show.
Yes.
Like I love answering questions, but I especially love answering questions from fans because they're asking it, they want to know, and also you don't have to answer every single one because quite honestly, I got a lot of questions that I wouldn't be posting on social media out of privacy for other cast members. Like, I can be an open book about my own shit, but I like to keep my friends. I like to keep the tea on my friends up to my friends if they want to like,
Spill.
put it out there. But it's
Yeah.
just fun. It's fun. It's rapid fire. It's like, what's your favorite color? Like what was your weirdest sexual encounter? Are you a top or a bottom? Which was the most asked questions.
Oh, I saw.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How how do you how do you handle those? Like, I mean, I saw them, of course, and they're gone. You can see them now on your own platform. But how do you deal with haters on the internet, and how have you? And then also, how do you deal with those spicy questions? Do you ignore them? Do you answer them? Do you skip?
Well, I ignore most of them, but if it's a repeat question, I'll answer it once. And then if I get the same question, are you a top or bottom? It's like, well, you didn't tune in and I already answered that. So I'm not going to answer that every single time I do a questionnaire.
Too late.
Um, the haters, to be honest with you, I'm a little sensitive. I certainly get more positive feedback from fans. And unfortunately, it's the one like negative comment that like always like hits you here. And
Yeah.
because I'm such a people pleaser and I want to be liked by people and I try to be a good person in life, when people hate on me, it really bothers me. And sometimes I even feel the need to respond to these bots and these trolls that like don't even have a profile picture. Barely have any followers. Like they're people
Mhm.
that are hating and just put negative shit out on the internet. And I don't know why I feel the need to be so righteous about my name and who I am and what I stand for, but I've learned to keep my mouth shut and just keep it moving, because if I obsessed about every negative thing that's on the internet about me, like I could be like in my room for days just focusing on the negative. And there's so much more positive out there to focus on that it's like any negative comment, it's like whatever. You can't be on a reality show not to expect for some people to not be into you.
Yeah,
I'm not for
exactly.
everyone, and that's okay.
And that is absolutely okay. So do you feel, and I feel that what you see is what you get with Ryan Kehoe. I've met
Yeah.
you, I know you, we've spoken over tech, but you're not just the reality TV person. So how do you feel about your persona if we meet you in person? And I hope that everybody gets a chance to get a piece of Ryan. Are you who you are on the internet, on social media?
I'm 100%. I've never had a bad edit, like on that obscure Bravo show before I was on the challenge. Like every edit I've ever had, I've never censored myself. I've never tried to be something that I'm not. And I think like doing the challenges again now, when I see bad acting in front of me of people like setting up scenes, I'm like, wait, aren't we on a reality show? Like when I started, like the cameramen either captured it or they didn't. So when I see people trying to like set up scenes, it cheeses me out because I don't know, like I grew up on the real world and road rules and like reality shows where it's like they're getting the good, the bad, the ugly, the you know. So I've never tried. I've never been a try hard. I'm not like trying to make a scene or like be controversial just to be controversial. But I'm also like a dirty Jersey boy that has no problem being naked. Sober or not, I'm like the naked guy in the room, and I will be
Right.
that way until the end. But that's not me like trying to get likes. It's like no, I'm just like a clothing optional kind of guy. And yeah, so I've never been unhappy seeing myself back.
Right.
Yeah, even in my drunkest moments, it's like, no, I did that. That's funny. It's funny to laugh back, laugh and look back on all that.
It happened. You're human, and you move on. That's
Yes.
it. And it's on the internet, or whatever, right? But that's fine. That's
Yeah.
cool. But do you feel that now that you're learning more about social, which I love, this evolution that I've seen over the past many years in person, but in social media. Do you feel that your persona is going to evolve or change with more challenges or with more shows that you'll be on, or you're just going to keep it real till the end and that's it?
No, I'm gonna keep it real till the end. You know, I enjoy interacting with people. I'm like an extroverted introvert. I'm like I love to be around people, but I also love locking myself in a room, binge watching a show, and like putting my phone on silent. I
Yeah.
need that balance of, you know, community and isolation, and it
Hmm.
really just like depends on my mood and the day. But at the end of the day, I'm a tourist, so like we love to be home. We love to have people come to our space. We want to be
Yeah.
comfortable. We want to eat well. We want to light candles and set the mood. And um, I'm definitely like a quintessential tourist in that sense.
Hmm.
Hmm.
With more of the shows coming out and having been in the space for quite some time, walk us through some of the good, the bads, and the uglies of the contract in the sense of what you should be posting on social media, why, when, and how.
Um, well, obviously we can't spoil anything. Like if the show hasn't aired, we can't talk about things that the viewers haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
So, for example, they just released who is on the cast for season 40 that's coming out in August. And so we're allowed to say, yeah, we're on the show, but, nothing about eliminations, nothing about the drama. Like we just have to kind of keep it cute
Hmm.
and wait until it's airing in real time to actually answer questions about it. There will be some drama coming up, and I'll address those things as it's
When they
airing.
happen.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced, not with yourself, but maybe with other cast members, other shows, where things just go awry in social, where there's this whole team behind, and I'm only bringing this up because I've seen this happen time and again. I'm not going to say with whom or which network, but I have seen behind the scenes of what should be coming out and scheduled from each cast member. For
Yeah.
instance, have
Yeah.
there ever been any mess ups? Have they really ruined anything? Have you seen anything blow up?
Oh, I've seen people get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm really good at playing by the rules. Maybe it's the Catholic schoolboy. Like
Right.
I do not bite the hand that feeds me. I play nice. I keep my mouth shut. I might tease a little bit and like put a little soundbite out there to get people interested, but I'm like a rule follower when it comes to doing the right and the wrong thing. But I've seen
Mhm.
people say too much, do like, an Instagram live where they're drinking and word diarrhea coming out of their mouth, like shit that hasn't aired yet. So I just watch other people get fined and in trouble and canceled, and I just play nice and follow the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I am looking forward, and I'm sure everybody out there in TV land watching and listening now or whenever they tune in to seeing what unravels for Ryan Kehoe. So now that we're talking about that, give us a little bit of how this past season was, and maybe if you can,
Yeah,
what's coming up for Mr. Kehoe himself on the
sure.
Challenger.
Are we talking about All Stars 4?
All stars for yes, absolutely
Okay.
yes.
Yes. So All Stars 4, we filmed January of 2023. It took a really long time for them to finally release it. We, as cast members, have no idea why. But as you saw, because it just finished airing last week, I did make it really far. I was eliminated right before the final. Um,
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm pretty comfortable in that role, it seems. It's my third season getting eliminated the day before the final. So it's kind of my thing.
It's okay.
Um, but I had a broken clavicle the entire season that I refused to get an x-ray while I was there, and production could not make me get an x-ray, so I just pushed through the pain because it was so early in the competition. It was literally day 5 of being in South Africa.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? It was my first time doing the show sober. Like, let's add a broken bone to it and see what happens.
Make it
I
as
didn't
real as
know it was broken
possible.
at the time. I just knew it was really messed up and
Yeah.
bruised, and the bone was kind of like protruding out of my skin. And now I have a big metal plate in there with
Wow.
nuts and bolts.
Wow.
So I would love to I wanted to go back without an injury, also still sober, obviously, and compete without having this like Achilles heel situation.
Sure.
So season 40 is coming out in August. That was just announced back on MTV, my first flagship show since
Wow.
2010. So it's been 14 years since
Wow.
I've been on that network. And I can just say it's going to be the best season they've ever had in the challenge. It's called Battle of the Eras. I am in Era 2, based on where I debuted in the challenge, which was season 12.
Sure.
And basically, Era 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like, who's the best era? Is it the OGs? Is it, Era 2? And it's just interesting because if you're a fan of the challenge, whether you're a fan of the challenge from back in the day and you want OGs and people that like well, or if you just started tuning in recently when like Are You the One and Love Island and other cast members from Survivor and Big Brother got brought into the franchise, it's just got everything for every fan. And also, it's a nice, pissing contest for who is the best era
We
and
love
who's
all
going
that
to
too,
be.
right?
Yeah, we do.
So I have one major question for you before we, get into how we find you on all your socials and everything. How do you market yourself to keep getting asked back on the show? Is it towards the fans? Is it towards the producers? Like who's in charge and how do you assure that you keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny?
Nothing is ever promised. Listen, I did like 5 seasons in 5 years in my 20s, and then didn't get a phone call for 15. And obviously, like, I wasn't holding on to that. Like, maybe for a year, I was a little like sensitive, like, oh, my friends are still getting asked back, and I'm not.
You're
What's
not,
wrong with
right?
me? Like, there's the new gay guy, there's the younger gay guy, the more controversial, the fucking, bitchy, salacious gay guy.
Sure.
So, you know, I don't ever expect it. Like this coming back into my life, like they called me for All Stars 1, 2, and 3, and then back on the flagship. Like I'm grateful, but this isn't like my life. It's a season in my life, quite literally, and I'm so grateful that the show came back into my life because it's brought nothing but good things. But
Sure.
also, like, from doing the show, I did blood work that showed me that I was diabetic. So I found out I was diabetic 3 years ago from doing
Hmm.
my blood work for All Stars. And I wouldn't have known that because I didn't even have any symptoms. So
Yeah.
now I'm like healthy and on insulin um, and then also seeing myself on All Stars 2, on top of finding out I was diabetic, just seeing how physically bad I was looking and how much I was like drinking every day, like in real
Sure.
time and on the show. It just made me look at myself on TV again. And I think internally was just pointing myself in the direction like, you're 40, halfway point if you're lucky in your life. Like, you don't want to feel like shit every day.
Sure.
And it was like the best decision, the hardest decision I ever made was to stop drinking. So I think it's a loaded question, but like doing the shows in my 20s didn't really necessarily serve me. Doing them now, I have so much gratitude. And I feel like I'm so much more authentically myself and I know who I am. I also don't give a flying fuck. Like,
Yeah,
good and
that's right.
bad. Like, I don't
That's
care if you
right.
don't like me. Yeah. It's like,
Then like, oh shit, too bad. This is who
right.
you are. What you see with Ryan is who you get.
Yeah.
And this whole story really now is for you, because if you're getting, if you're living your life, your truth, then you shouldn't have to hide anything on social media either. Plain and
Right.
simple. Plain
And
and
like,
simple.
the most negative things I get, like talking about, bad feedback is like I'm boring. But like, I'd rather be boring and an authentic human being than a piece of shit that's just like stabbing people in the back left and right.
Yeah,
So I'll be boring all day. Let's keep being boring.
and keep being asked back time and again, hopefully in the future. That's it.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
I
we hope
love
so too.
competing. Like, we're very lucky to be doing these things. Like, there's nothing
Sure.
more fun than like going on vacation with your friends and like competing for money. It's like a really awesome side hustle.
You really can't beat that.
No.
Ryan, thank you so much, so much for coming on the show. But please tell everybody out there in TV land where they can find you, of course, on all the social platforms.
You can find me on Instagram, Ryan Kehoe 5. It is my new Challenge Season 40 headshot picture that the network chooses.
That's right.
And then Ryan Kehoe, same picture on Facebook. And then my Twitter is Ryan Kehoe 5. First, last
Okay.
name 5. I don't tweet and I don't check it. So quite honestly, the only way to really find me is Instagram or Facebook. And I'm going to work on my TikTok and my Snapchat while I'm here visiting Olivia this week.
Well, if you need help, you know where to turn. Our team too. So, Ryan, thank you so much, truly, for spending time with us today. And everybody out there, that's another episode of the Pride and Promotion Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Federico. Go forth with pride. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Happy Pride.
And just like that, we're putting the finishing touches on another fabulous episode of the Pride and Promotion Podcast. If today's conversation struck a chord, why not sing our praises with a quick rating and review on your podcast platform of choice? Your support is the spotlight that helps us shine and bring more folks into our ever-expanding audience. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's get social too. Follow us online for all the extra goodies, sneak peeks, and continued dialogue about marketing with pride and purpose. Tune in next time as we unfurl more colorful stories, champion the cause of inclusivity, and learn more from the creme de la creme of the industry. Until our paths cross again, keep pushing boundaries, stay true to yourself, and infuse every project with pride.